So a couple years ago, I had posted a video talking about some concerns, some issues, some shortcomings with the Volkswagen Arteon platform. I want to go ahead and take some time to take a look at some of the updates as far as aftermarket support in the Volkswagen Arteon line, along with the Mark 8 Golf R and 8Y S3. Fortunately, it looks like at this time, there's a lot of cross compatibility as far as interchangeable upgrades with any of the Mqb Evo 4 powered vehicles. So for those of you guys that don't already know, some of the biggest issues with that introductory year as far as the Volkswagen Arteon, really one of the biggest problems that really held this platform back from being more desirable from an aftermarket like performance standpoint is it was using an 8-speed ASIN automatic transmission. If you guys want more information about that, be sure to check out the video right up here going into a little bit more technical detail. So looking at the newer models for the Arteon equipped with the 7-speed DSG, again that's an Mqb Evo 4 powered car. These cars are looking pretty respectable. I really think it's just a matter of time before we start to see some more people recognizing the cross compatibility. And if you're deciding like, you know what, everybody else already has a Golf R, I already see enough people with like S3s. Me as a car enthusiast, I always like to step outside the box and be a little bit different. So once people start to catch on, I feel like we're gonna start seeing some pretty interesting Arteon builds. Now, as far as I know, I don't believe the Arteon is still in production, but there's still a decent amount of inventory as far as like your 2023, 2024 models. If you can find an all-wheel drive equipped model, it's going to give you a good baseline as far as looking at different bolt-on upgrades. So let's go and take the time to see as far as what we've got going in terms of aftermarket support for the newer model Arteon. Now, for those of you guys that may not already know, I've always been a big fan of APR. It's been a respected name in the aftermarket performance industry for Volkswagen and Audi for many, many years. I've dealt with APR lots of times. I've always had great support. Now, some of you guys may or may not know, I've actually done 2 APR Stage 3 builds on this channel. We did one on the full bolt-on A3 Quattro, as well as the C7 Audi S6 build. Of course, be sure to check those out if you haven't already. And yeah, I've always been a big fan of APR. I feel like these guys, they show the research, they show the data. These guys have been ahead of the curve for a long time as far as staying on top of everything in order to develop products that are emissions compliant. So that's obviously been a big topic for the past couple of years as far as like controversy with production of downpipes and stage 2. There's been a lot of companies that have kind of pulled away from that market for various reasons. But man, these guys were smart. Like they were able to recognize early on that they needed to focus on being able to offer performance parts that meet emissions requirements. So always tip my hat to those guys. So take a look at the lineup for the Mqb Evo 4 vehicles. So again, S3, 8Y, Mark 8 Golf R, and the latest Volkswagen Arteon. Man, we've got a pretty good lineup here as far as aftermarket support from APR. So we've got a good lineup of bolt-ons here looking at your intake. We've also got their intercooler, appears to be compatible with the Arteon. We've also got their throttle pipe, charge pipe upgrade. Looks like they do sell that as a bundle. They also are now offering a drop-in turbocharger replacement. Man, it's just looking really, really nice as far as this outlook on the platform. Taking a look at your performance figures here, I mean, you got to keep in mind this is a stock engine car, basic bolt-ons, off-the-shelf tuning. It's just a simple turnkey solution. I know a lot of people get very critical, they get very defensive over their decision to go with perhaps more complex setups that require custom tuning and more kind of off-menu options, if you will. And man, like the older I get, the more I'm just like, dude, let's be hassle-free. Like I don't want to have to chase down some guy in a different time zone trying to look at a base map, going back and forth, logging revisions. I just have to appreciate the simplicity of direct bolt-on parts, off-the-shelf tuning. You've got a network of dealers. It just works, man. That's the bottom line. But just so there's no confusion, I'm not in any way affiliated with APR. I just happen to be an individual car enthusiast that has had great experience with their hardware and software upgrades on various cars. So I just want to share my experiences with you guys and kind of bring some more information, perhaps shed some light on the possibilities with the more recent Arteon. I mean, obviously, I'll be sure to put up the dyno graphs. I mean, you guys tell me. I mean, I have to recognize we're talking some pretty respectable performance as far as wheel, horsepower, and torque figures on an all-wheel drive dyno. I mean, for a stock motor car, I mean, this is pretty decent in terms of performance. And we're talking a 2-liter turbo. I mean, Who would have thought 10 years ago this kind of thing would be possible? I always feel like Volkswagen, Audi in particular, I mean, they've got the recipe, they know what they're doing. I mean, as far as, if you're looking at the advancements, as far as like all the different 2 liters, I mean, so much better in more recent years than some of the older models. I mean, even like the Mark 6s were great cars, but obviously they were very prone to a lot of timing chain failures. We saw the introduction of the Mqb Gen 3. There was a lot more improvements there, better performance, a lot less prone to timing chain failures rather than the older Mark 6s. So, and with the 4th gen, I mean, it's just like things keep getting better and better every year. Now, one of the biggest pain points on that older Arteon, as I had mentioned, obviously because of the limitations with the drivetrain having that older 8-speed transmission. So now that the more recent models are using the 7-speed DSG, and again, I speak for a North American market here, plug and play, no problem. You can see they have ECU and TCU software, so you can bundle that together depending on whatever your setup's looking like as far as, you know, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 upgrades. Some people, I don't know what it is, they just don't seem to care about like TCU. They're like, as long as I have like an engine tune, I'm just gonna wing it. I think it's a huge mistake in my opinion. I would strongly advise against upgrading any car and just neglecting transmission software, because if you're gonna make a major change in terms of like your bolt-ons, your engine calibration to produce more power, more torque, in my opinion, it makes sense to reprogram and structure transmission so it knows what it needs to do to obviously support that increased power. So that's gonna be something that's gonna be a key ingredient to just make the whole package work. So very exciting just to see this whole catalog of parts interchangeable with the Arteon model. Like I said, I've been very critical in the past of some of those earlier models. It's definitely good to see, like taking a look back at this and just finding that there is now that cross compatibility as far as the Arteon with the Golf R and the S3. I think that they obviously recognize that, you know what, that 8-speed wasn't working, so I'm glad to see they made the right decision. So we'll see what the future brings. I mean, for me, like, you know, I like the Arteon. If I was looking for a bigger car, that might be something that I would consider getting, but for me, that would be a downgrade, obviously coming from the Audi RS3. So I'm not saying I'll never get an Arteon. It's not really something that I'm urgently looking for, just considering what I have now and kind of the lateral move that would be. But if I ever got to a point where, you know, want a little bit bigger car, a little bit more space, kind of with that sportback style, yeah, I could definitely see building a pretty nasty Arteon, man. That would be cool. And again, it's just kind of something that's a little bit outside the box. It's not always something that most people would expect for people to modify. So I just want to provide some update as far as looking at the Arteon for you guys. Thank you so much. Be sure to check out that catalog of parts if you're looking at doing an Mqb Evo 4 upgrade as far as any of those vehicles within this platform. I'll be sure to leave all applicable links in the description box down below. Thank you guys as always. Be sure to stick around for more content, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.